Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. Today in the shop we have a 2016 and up Honda CBR500R, and I will be showing you the installation procedure for flush mount signals to replace the OEM front signals on this bike. Now, our simple $15 signals are available in clear or smoke lens, and they have 15 LEDs on board each one of these capsules. They are a nice, simple, inexpensive addition to your bike, and through the use of our optional harness converters, you can actually have a plug-and-play setup that replaces the entire lamp, and you don't have to do any wiring. Now, we also have our halo signals. These particular signals were developed for a 2013 and up Honda CBR500R, and I was able to successfully mount one of these setups in this bike, so it actually does fit. It doesn't fit as nicely as on the 600, but it does the job, and I think it looks a little bit more trick than these simple ones. So I'll leave it up to you guys. The installation is pretty simple for both of these. I will show this guy on one side and one of these setups on the other, and you can decide which one you like better and read a little bit more about these on our website. All right, we will have two separate pages for this and this setup, so I invite you to come on over to tstindustries.com and check it out. And from this point forward in the video, we'll just do the installation procedure. So follow along and let's get started. So in the first step, we'll have to find the plug for the signal. It's located here under this shroud within this boot. It'll slip off the boot and expose the plug. What I like to do is use a little flathead screwdriver to pry up on the lock and withdraw the male portion of the plug. Now this is disconnected, and we can jump down to the bottom and undo the mechanical fasteners that hold it on and take it off. Okay, we have this rubber boot down here that will need to be slipped off. So from the top side, I'm gonna grab the male portion of the plug that we withdrew from that plug setup over there and make sure that as I pull on this boot, we don't pull it through. All right, now this gives me access to this 10mm nut that you guys can see here. I'll use a 10mm socket to remove that nut. There's a washer that's also under there. I'm gonna remove that so it doesn't fall into my bodywork. All right, and now this whole setup is loose and free to come out. Up top, I will use a piece of wire to attach to the male plug and enable me to just snake the whole setup down through the bodywork. And this will probably do away with about a half-hour worth of removing panels off the bike and then reinstalling them. That stuff gets pretty tedious, so I typically just use a snaking method to get the wires through from the top to the bottom, reattach to the new setup, back up to the top, and plug it together. So we'll show you guys that now. Okay, so working with the male plug, I have just an arbitrary section of wire that I'm using for the snaking method. I'm going to put this wire through. The wire is going into the plug from the back. Get this around the front of the plug. Give it a little twist. Now I'm going to use a piece of electrical tape to tape it all together. Make sure that it stays together for me, and then also doesn't have a sharp edge, a sharp portion going into the bodywork. We want this to flow smoothly through all the little nooks inside. All right, now this is ready to go through the inside. I think you guys understand the general idea. I'm gonna feed it through the top and wiggle it around as I work it out of the bottom. If you find that everything's just bound up a little bit too tight in there, like I just found, you can undo the 2 screws from an inner panel here. They are Phillips heads, and the panel will pop out slightly and loosen up the routing for the wire. Still a lot better than having to take off the entire side fairing. Just a couple extra fasteners. It's going to make our life a little bit easier, so I think it's worthwhile. So it's these 2 little screws, they come out, and this shroud pops open, and you can get your hand in there and help route the wire. Makes it a little bit less difficult to get everything through. All right, so now we have the end that we tied off with our snaking wire. Came through, it's ready to go. I'm gonna undo this wire. And now this whole signal assembly can be taken apart. We will feed this wire with the plug out of this rubber boot. The inner spacer will slide off, and now this entire lamp can be disassembled off the bike. The last part here will be to remove this rubber boot, and I generally just do that by hand. That enables me to not scratch up any of these nice painted panels, and it still comes out pretty easy. So now we'll have to make a decision on which signal we want to put in there. We have the standard smoked, standard clear, or our halo signal. On this particular side, I will install our halo, and I will show you the installation of this signal on the other side, and then you guys can compare. So the wire just feeds through from the outside to the inside of this shroud. You place the signal in the well as deep as it'll go. You grab one of the big washers that came with your kit and superimpose it over the screw boss on the signal. And one of the screws that came with the kit will insert through the washer into your signal, and then make that screwed connection. It is a self-threading screw, so you don't want to over tighten it. The actual signal well takes care of holding the strength required to hold the signal. It'll support it up and down, forward and aft. And that screw actually just locks it in place, so it doesn't have to be overly tight. So keep that in mind. You don't want to damage your nice new signal. Once you get it tightened down so that it's fixed in place, you can grab the wire with the plug from your new signal and basically do the reverse procedure of what we did to snake out the wire from the OEM setup. We will go from the bottom to the top this time. Once again, I'll lock the wire down with a little bit of electrical tape. All right, up we go. You can manipulate the wire from the top as you feed it through the bottom. Get it to penetrate through those internal channels. All right, so I think I have it out as far as it'll go. And this next part is going to be a little bit cumbersome because the wiring is short on this particular unit. It still fits together with this OEM wiring setup. Still plugs right in. It's just a little tight. I'll remove the tape. I'll remove my snaking wire. And now I have my plug accessible, both sides of the plug. I'm going to use pliers to hold the lower part. And with my hands, I will insert the female portion of this plug on top of the new signal plug. Once I get it to click together, that means it's all connected. Like I mentioned before, it's pretty tight in here, but it does reach. I'm going to test the system, make sure things working properly. In this particular bike, we have an LED flasher relay already installed, so you see the LED signals not hyper flashing, they're actually flashing at the correct rate. If you didn't have that part installed, it would be flashing much faster. For the installation procedure for the relay, you could look at the other video we have for this bike. We'll have that up shortly. And from this point forward, it'll just be the reverse order of disassembly here. I'm gonna cover up the wiring here. Okay, so the last part here, I will replace the screws that I took out from the inner panel here to gain access, a little bit more access to the wiring route. So these screws will now go back in and fix that panel in place. All right, so now this side's done. I'm gonna move over to the other side and disassemble the OEM setup. I'll show you guys the standard lamps on this side. All right, for this bike, I've chosen the clear signals. They look approximately that way in the bike. I'm also going to be using the harness converter on this particular bike. So, installation will go like this. From our kit, we'll grab one nut, one washer, put the signal through the well, have it bottom out, get the washer on the wires, get the nut on the wires, and get it up behind and thread it on. I'm just going to get it finger tight for now. I'll tighten it up a little bit later. All right, now I will get my harness converter plugged in. It's really simple. It's yellow to yellow, black to black, and These connectors do have these insulating caps, but they do have a tendency to shift. So what I typically do is put a couple revolutions of tape around them in their insulating position so that they stay in place and there's no chance of shorting out your signal and blowing a fuse. Once that's done, we'll get our sneaking wire back on this plug, and from this point forward the installation, these components will be exactly the same as on the other side, so I won't bore you guys with the details. We'll fast forward through that and get to power it up real soon. All right, let's power this thing up and give it a rip. Now you guys can see what this looks like. There's a nice wide angle of view, nice and bright, and a pretty simple installation. We've simplified it for you with our step-by-step procedure. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that it gives you a nice perspective on the two different signaling systems that we offer, and you can make that choice for yourself and pick the right one for you. We have more videos of this type on our channel and on our website, so I hope that you guys will hit subscribe and check out the rest of the videos. And for now, I'm done. I'll see you guys next time.